Hey, this is Erin. I'm one of the coaches inside of Career Strategy Lab, and I want to let you know that this episode you're about to listen to, number one, is awesome, and number two is actually from our open house. So, in this conversation, you should know that there were other people on this call and there was a live audience. So, if some of the editing seems a little bit weird or abrupt, that's why. It should still make sense for you. There's so many gems of wisdom to grab from this episode. So, we hope you enjoy. And if you do like this format where you really can get to know someone and learn more about their career journey, please let us know. You can send Sarah a LinkedIn message or you can email hello@sarahdoody.com. We love the feedback and we want to create more of what you enjoy and find helpful. All right, let's get into the episode.
All right. Also, I've been told you cannot hear the chickens in the background, but I'm currently in Hawaii and the chickens decided to come and announce themselves. They're actually really beautiful. We could pick up on like where to find UX jobs and how you found yours, because I know referrals were a big one. LinkedIn, love it or hate it, is big also. But Stephen, we are doing quick intros, telling people what you were doing before you landed in Career Strategy Lab and what you are doing now. And I know that you got hired, Stephen, and then you also went down the consulting path. So give us kind of the lowdown on your before and after.
Sure. And sorry for my delay in joining. I am
No
here.
problem.
I'm so glad to be here and seeing you all again. I feel
We're
like it's
crossing
so
oceans. I'm in Hawaii and you're in Spain. So yeah.
Amazing.
that is a time difference for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 11 in the morning here.
Excellent. Wow. That's the opposite. 10 p.m. here. Yeah, I mean, I was confused coming into CSL, like, should I be a career switcher or a climber? And that continues to be a paradox of expressing myself in different contexts today. Depending on the career space that I'm in, it makes more sense to highlight that I'm more senior or that I'm more junior. But I was essentially doing UX without realizing it for a while, then got trained in it a bit more, but was in a startup space that was actually a coaching community and facilitating masterminds for groups of people across different disciplines. Was also in podcasting and media and was starting to use my UX research skills to help shore up and grow a podcast network that's still doing great today. And so I came with a lot of timidity and self-doubt because those are largely self-created spaces that I was a part of, and so it was very hard for me to know, like, how do I actually stack up compared to, for example, big tech, to your point. And so, yeah, did you want me to do a short bit on where I am now, or wait
Yeah,
on?
we would love that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So came into CSL very much in that state of self-doubt. Got a huge confidence boost, a lot of support with critique and getting career materials into a better shape. And really, one of the big moves was learning how to ask people to mentor me. And one of those went really well. And not only did he say yes to mentoring me for a period of time, but because I was so on his radar and because that opened the door for us to have a stronger connection, he thought of me when an opportunity came up for a short-term project. And that led to 4 more research sprints with them, which then led to me feeling like I could probably do this, even if there aren't more agency gigs right away ready for me. And sometimes I still go and take a gig with them, but and with other agencies. But yeah, it was a huge shift for me in just like realizing like, oh yeah, like I have certain areas of strength and I could run an end-to-end project, and so let's try it. And so started that as far as a team-based model, not just solo freelance, really a year and a month ago. So yeah, here we are. We're still doing good, doing better. We're scaling, we're hiring a little bit. So that's cool. I never
Yeah.
knew I would get this far. So I feel very lucky.
And so now you're exclusively doing the agency route, as in your own agency. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to even explain the whirlwind that it feels like, and I'm sure you understand it as someone who has built your own thing, I think
Yes.
multiple times. And so it stretches me in every direction. I love the challenge. I love the energy. I feel extremely privileged to have amazing people in my life to help me with it. But yeah, it's been wonderful. And now we have a couple what I call miracle clients. And so that's the
Mm.
client that brings you other clients so that you don't have to sell as much. And so that's been a game changer to allow me to focus on other aspects of making sure that we're doing everything well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so easy to just jump into rush mode and I need to update my resume. I need to go to coffee meetups. I need to go to in-person online meetups. I need to update my portfolio, all of the things. But you kind of end up just running around like a, no pun intended, like a chicken with its head cut off, as we were talking about the chickens here in Hawaii. But with the compass statement, it helps serve as like that North Star so that when it is time to decide what bullet points do I put on my resume, what projects do I put in my portfolio, what could I highlight in a cover letter, or which jobs should I even apply to or entertain, it makes all of those decisions so much easier because you have this kind of filter to run all those decisions through.
Filter was huge. I think scarcity is such a powerful, just like psychological force, and there's nothing like a difficult, just like sprint of getting rejections in the job search, like 1%, response rate type of a deal. For how long can any healthy person even sustain that, even if everything else in their life was going great? And so even having a space where qualified people could kind of look at these statements with me and help me process through, like, is this even sensible? Should I be thinking that, I should, be selective about what I apply to, was extremely helpful. And the answer is yes, you should be selective. But it is hard to be selective when you feel like you're grasping at straws. But I do think it serves everyone better in the long run. You're more likely to get something that you actually are a better fit for. So focusing that energy is just like such a hard muscle still for me to figure out. But it was helpful.
And one thing that I remember you mentioned, Stephen, maybe you don't remember it, but I just read over some stuff before this call that you had said, you were worried because you didn't feel like you had a lot of connections in UX industry, really. You're kind of this self-taught career switcher, let's say. And I think like the power of the community to rapidly expand your network to help you not only just grow as a professional, but also create connections that I'm not sure if anyone in CSL helped you find your job, but I think everyone would be curious to know kind of the impact of CSL on helping you, grow that network that kind of didn't exist in your case.
Yeah, so for me, I'm an extrovert, I'm a social learner, I'm a practical learner. I think a lot of people are that way. And so the ability to have access to a space suddenly where I'm constantly able to access and just kind of learn from people as they talk about like the commonalities and the differences in their work. It's like a amazing, just accelerated education for me. And just quickly you sort out that, like, oh, I mean, it only takes so much time of hearing people troubleshoot and problem solve and move from problem to solution that you start to feel more confidence and more equipped to be able to use those as frames of reference and solve some problems yourself. And so I certainly felt that type of equipping and confidence was, increased pretty fast. And now I feel super comfortable talking to people in this space, regardless of domain experience, regardless of seniority. And I also think there's just kind of honestly, as a younger and like newer to the field person, I just felt like there was a sort of recognition that everybody's human that hit me harder in a space like CSL, where people are very transparent and supportive of each other. And people that I just thought, well, there's no way I can compete with you. You're incredible. You have all the stuff that has sticker value, FANG experience, etc. And, sometimes those folks would be really vulnerable. And that was really actually encouraging and helpful for me, because it was like, oh, the challenges don't go away. They just kind of shapeshift, first of all. I'm always like, oh, I should be older. And then all the old folks come into the group and they're like, we should be younger. And like, everyone has 1,000 reasons to sort of think that they're disqualified from whatever their next career move is. But yeah, I think it just sort of depressurized all of that and gave me good exposure to different, walks and chapters of life.
Yeah, one thing that kind of struck me with your answer is, there's that hashtag or movement like build in public, right? And I think in the job search and in advancing our careers, oftentimes that is not a very public thing, right? A lot of people kind of stay in a silo when it comes to their resume and their LinkedIn and job search and all that. And what we keep hearing over and over is very similar to what you just described, like the ability to no longer do this all in a silo on your own and have a community, I think helps so much with accountability, first of all, right? But also the kind of confidence level setting, if you will, and that you realize, hey, this isn't just me. I'm not the only person that struggles with XYZ. No matter how many years of experience, no matter what amazing company names you have on your resume, everyone struggles with this stuff because it's not something we have to do every day. And yeah, it can be intimidating, but when you step out of that silo and do it kind of in community, I think there's such empowerment with that. And I'm curious for any of you, or like if you have anything else around the idea of like the community and how it maybe impacted you, whether it's accountability or who knows what. And Stephen, I'm curious because although what you did in Career Strategy Lab helped you get hired into those consulting roles, I'm very curious in hindsight, now that you have your own agency and you are needing to communicate to potential clients how your agency can help them, et cetera, are there things from Career Strategy Lab that you've been able to leverage and tweak as you look at how do I market and sell my agency to people? And I will not be offended if you say no, but we're curious to see if anything translated from getting hired into a full-time job versus going a freelancer route or agency route.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in an indirect way, CSL really helped with structuring my thoughts around what has become my proposal process for a written proposal to submit to businesses once the conversation gets to that point. And it would take a bit for me to try to pull together all the threads and articulate in like a useful, concise way.
Right.
Like how it is that you guys have helped me with that, to be honest with you. It's a very creative question. So
Maybe
yeah.
it's another interview, but yeah, tell us what you have right now.
What I've got right now is that there are patterns of communication that are skills we can all grow in, and I think the power of these skills is greater than ever in a space that already has a lot of noise in it. When you're just in a difficult market, storytelling is everything. And so the iterative process of getting critiques, for example, on my portfolio materials and like watching somebody through Loom, like experience or re-experience like a slide or, one section of a project and realizing all of a sudden it's like light user testing. It's like, oh my goodness, I was so in my head about this while trying to write and massage all these words. Now I can see somebody process it and the same themes emerge. Bottom line up front, concision, no more than this many words per slide is ideal. Use, call outs and visuals, but minimally so that it's not too loud and crowded. And I'm not a designer. Some folks in this community are incredible designers, but even being able to sort of shore up applying some of those principles over and over, it just kind of built the muscles for me. And so I wouldn't say that my proposals are super concise. It depends on the business I'm pitching them to, but it uses a lot of the same visual hierarchy, bullet points, all these types of simple things that I think are more refined now and help me when I need to explain the value of a project to a stakeholder who's all of a sudden hopping on the meeting and being brought in the loop on something.
And I think one thing that strikes me about you, Stephen, you're a researcher, you're also a storyteller and communicator from your podcast experience. And, when it comes to like the design of your resume, the design of your portfolio, or the writing of your resume, the writing of your portfolio, you may have thought, oh, I've got this, but it's hard when you're doing it for yourself, right? And I think that the sooner you can recognize that, the faster you can kind of stop massaging words and designs based on what you think is necessary and see it through the lens of that recruiter, that hiring manager who has minutes or seconds and design and create content for them versus what, your bar is. One thing I kind of want to end on is, what advice or words would you have for anyone that might be on the fence about joining Career Strategy Lab? And if there's any advice you have about how to succeed in Career Strategy Lab, I'm sure they would welcome that also.
I mean, this is not, I don't think, a slight. I would say, I don't think that, and maybe things have changed since. I don't think that CSL for me, like the value of CSL was that it was revolutionary in some sort of like, pure value add content or techniques or secrets or whatever. Like, I think it provided the supports and the structures and the step-by-step checklists to help me to develop a bias toward action. And still, statistically, that is the most significant factor that sets apart anyone when it comes to measurable performance categories. So if you have a bias towards action and you can cultivate that further and put supports in place that help you, like in my case, I struggle with pretty, severe ADD and was unmedicated only until just a year ago. And like it put the pressure on more than ever to try to figure out things that I can do, environmental factors, social factors, things that I can set up to prompt me, remind me, motivate me. And so I don't think I missed more than one opportunity to submit a critique, because I was like, I'm going to get that critique, even if I've only changed something 5%, because, that was just something that motivated me to leverage, the full value of the experience. And so if someone's on the fence and it sounds like you resonate with that, I would just encourage you to take the jump, because theoretically, sure, someone could try to pull together and simulate and recreate what this community does on their own steam. It would be exhausting. It would be difficult, even if you're a natural networker like me, even if you're extremely extroverted, even if you have facilitation experience and you have a great small writing group that meets every week like I did, and they're all professionals and they can pivot into being your coaches. Like you can try to build all this and make it happen around you, but in almost 99% of cases, I would recommend you don't try to do that. Even if you have a propensity to try to start things from scratch like I do, that can work against you when you may just need some community. We're human, that's what we need.
All right, I think that's all we have time for. So I want to first say thank you, Stephen, for graciously giving their time and answering tons of questions. So that's that. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.